first time they almost exposed her, it happened in front of the whole restaurant, not in some quiet corner, not behind the kitchen door, right there under the bright chandelier of Echo Ember, the newest, most talked about fine dining spot on Victoria Island, Lagos, where the plates looked like art and the waiters walked like they were on TV. And she was holding a mop. A thick, wet mop. Her hands were inside yellow rubber gloves. Her uniform was ash grey, the kind cleaners wear. Her hair was packed under a simple black scarf. Even her face looked different, no makeup, no soft perfume, no diamonds, just the smell of lemon disinfectant. Adesuwa Adebayo, the woman who quietly owned half of the land that people in Lagos argued over, stood beside a table where a rich man had just stood up and shouted, "Are you blind? Look at my shoes." The man lifted one foot like it was more important than human life. His shiny Italian shoe had one small splash of dirty water on it. Adesuwa's chest tightened, not because she was scared, because she suddenly remembered something she had tried to forget. Her father's last warning: if you want peace, don't marry someone who loves your money. Marry someone who loves your heart. The man snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog. "You, cleaner, come here." People turned to watch. Forks paused in the air. A woman in a red wig whispered, see." Embarrassment. Adesuwa lowered her eyes the way a cleaner would. She even bent her shoulders a little, acting small. "I'm sorry, sir," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but inside her, something was burning. The man pointed at her face. "Sorry won't clean my shoe, will it?" Then he did something that made the whole room go quiet. He raised his hand, not to wave, to hit. And before Adesuwa could move, before she could even decide whether to keep pretending, a chair scraped loudly. Someone stood up fast. A deep voice cut through the air like a knife. "Don't touch her." Adesuwa lifted her head. The man who spoke wasn't dressed like the others. No shining agbada, no heavy gold chain, no loud designer belt. Just a neat, simple outfit, plain black trousers, a white long-sleeve shirt, sleeves rolled up. His hair was low-cut. His face looked tired, like he had seen enough of Lagos life to stop being surprised by it. He stepped between the rich man and Adesuwa, and then he looked straight at the rich man and said, slow and clear, "If you hit her, you will explain it to the police. And you will explain it to me first." The rich man laughed, sharp and mocking. "And who are you?" The simple man didn't flinch. "Nobody," he said. "But she's somebody." The room held its breath. Adesuwa felt something strange rise in her throat. Not tears. Something else. Like hope. But careful, because hope could be stupid. The rich man's face twisted. "So you want to be a hero for a cleaner? Do you know who I am?" The simple man nodded once. "I don't care." A waiter rushed forward, panicking. The floor manager followed, sweating. "Ogre, please," the manager begged the rich man. "Please calm down. We will handle it." Then the manager turned and faced Adesuwa, and his eyes changed. Hard, cold, the way people look at someone they think is below them. "You," he hissed under his breath. "Why are you standing there like goat? Apologize well. Kneel if you have to." Adesuwa stared at him. Her heart beat once, twice. This manager didn't know. None of them knew. This restaurant was hers. Every tile, every chair, every spoon. She had built it quietly through a private company. No interviews, no pictures. She wanted it that way because of one reason. She was hunting for a spouse, a good one, a real one. Not the kind that would smile because she had money. Not the kind that would call her my queen today and steal her peace tomorrow. So she did something wild. She became a cleaner in her own restaurant. She wanted to watch people when they thought nobody important was watching. How they treated staff. How they handled stress. How they acted when money was on the table. And now, in the middle of her secret test, a man she had never seen before had just stood up for her. A cleaner. The manager leaned close again and whispered, angry, "If you don't apologize now, I will sack you tonight." Sack her. Adesuwa almost laughed. It almost came out by mistake. But she didn't laugh. Instead, she turned her eyes to the simple man who defended her. He looked at her like she was human, not like she was furniture, not like she was dirt. The rich man stepped back, insulted. This restaurant is useless. You people don't know customer service. He grabbed his phone. I will call my people. I will shut this place down. Some customers murmured. Some looked away. A few smiled, like they enjoyed the drama. Adesuwa swallowed. She kept her face blank. Then, without warning, the rich man pointed at the simple man. And you, he said, voice low with threat. You think you can talk to me like that in Lagos? You will regret it. The simple man didn't move. He only said, leave. The rich man spat on the floor, right on the shiny tile. The manager gasped, ogre, but the rich man was already storming toward the exit with his friends, knocking into a waitress as he passed. The simple man quickly steadied the waitress so she wouldn't fall. Small thing, but Adesuwa noticed. She noticed everything. That was the point. Then the manager turned back, furious, ready to pour his anger on someone safe. On Adesuwa. You stupid girl, he snapped. Do you know how much money we just lost? Do you know? Stop, the simple man cut in. The manager blinked. Excuse me? The simple man stepped closer, still calm. You're blaming her for someone else's wickedness. The manager's face tightened. Are you staff here? No. Then mind your business. The simple man's eyes didn't leave the manager's face. It is my business when you're bullying someone. For a moment, the manager looked like he wanted to fight. Then he noticed other customers watching. Phones were already out. A lady near the bar was recording quietly. The manager forced a smile. A fake one. He clapped his hands loudly. Everybody, sorry for the disturbance. Please enjoy your meal. The room slowly returned to normal. Music started again, soft jazz. But Adesuwa's body stayed tense. Because she knew something nobody else knew. That rich man wasn't just any rich man. He was Mr. Lei Balogun, a powerful supplier with friends in places that could make life hard. And when men like that felt embarrassed, they didn't just go home. They planned. The simple man turned to Adesuwa. His voice softened. Are you okay? Adesuwa wanted to answer like herself, like the woman who never begged anyone, but she forced her cleaner voice again. I'm fine, she said. He looked at her hands, small cuts near her thumb. Cleaning chemicals did that. The cuts were real. She didn't fake those. He frowned gently. You shouldn't be treated like that. Adesuwa's throat tightened again. Then she heard it. The sound that made her blood turn cold. A sharp beep from the ceiling. Above them, one of the CCTV cameras had tilted. Not normal. Like someone was controlling it. Like someone had been watching that moment closely. Very closely. Adesuwa slowly lifted her eyes to the black camera dome. And in the same second, her phone hidden inside her pocket buzzed once. A message flashed on her private screen. Unknown number. Madam, your disguise is failing. They are about to confirm who you are. Adesuwa's breath caught. Because only a few people on Earth had that number. Only her inner security team. She looked back at the simple man. He was still standing there, waiting, calm, unaware of the storm coming. Then the manager approached again, smiling too hard. Cleaner, he said sweetly, too sweet. Come with me. The owner wants to see you. Adesuwa's heart dropped, because the owner was supposed to be invisible. And as she followed the manager toward the back office, she realized something terrifying. If someone was calling for the owner, then someone had started to suspect the truth. And in a place like Lagos, when people discover you're a trillionaire, they don't just smile. Sometimes, they grab. And the door to the back office opened with a click. Inside, voices were waiting. Not friendly voices. Adesuwa stepped forward and froze, because on the table, right under the office light, was a printed photo. A photo of her, not as a cleaner, as Adesuwa Adebayo in a diamond necklace, stepping out of a black SUV in Ikoyi, and the manager said, low and shaking with excitement, Madam, we found you. The room smelled like air freshener and panic, not the nice kind of panic people feel when they're late to a wedding. This was the dangerous kind. The kind that makes people do stupid things because they think they have finally seen their chance. Adesuwa stood at the doorway of the back office of Eco Ember, her heart beating so loudly she almost expected the floor manager to hear it. On the table sat the printed photo of her diamond necklace, black SUV, Ikoyi streetlights, the real her. The manager, Mr. Guboyega, leaned back in his chair like he had just caught a fish bigger than his bucket. Two other men were there too. One was a security supervisor she recognized from the staff list. Baba Nuru, mid-52nds, dark skin, pot belly, heavy eyes. The other was not staff. This one was younger, maybe early 32nds, with a sharp haircut and the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore a navy suit and held a phone like it was a weapon. Adesuwa's mind ran fast. Who is he? Why is he here? How did they get that photo? The manager cleared his throat and tried to sound respectful, but his voice still carried pride. Madam Adesuwa Adebayo, he said, savoring the name. Welcome to your restaurant. Adesuwa didn't answer. She looked at the photo again. Then she looked at their faces. Slowly, she placed her cleaning bucket down by the door. The handle clicked against the floor. You're mistaken, she said quietly. The young man in the suit chuckled. Ah, madam, please, let's not play. You see this photo? He tapped it with one finger. It's you. Adesuwa's eyes narrowed. That photo could be anybody. The manager laughed nervously. Madam, no. We know. We found your company name in the building documents. The chain leads to you. We just didn't expect you to be mopping here like... He stopped, realizing how insulting that sounded, but his face didn't look sorry. It looked curious, like he was trying to understand a puzzle. Adesuwa stepped into the office, calm on the outside. Inside, her stomach tightened. She had planned for small problems, rude customers, gossip, maybe a staff member stealing meat from the freezer. She had not planned for exposure this fast, and she definitely had not planned for staff to corner her like this. The young man stood up and offered his hand as if they were at a business meeting. Madam Adesuwa, he said smoothly, my name is Tunde Ilisanmi. I am a friend of Mr. Lai Balogun. The name hit her, like cold water. Lai Balogun. The rich man who tried to hit her. So that's what this was. Not an owner meeting. A trap. Adesuwa didn't take Tunde's hand. She let the silence hang. Tunde withdrew his hand, still smiling. My friend was embarrassed outside, he continued. You know, men like him don't like disgrace. And to be honest, madam, if the public hears that a customer was humiliated at your grand opening, it could scatter your reputation. Adesuwa's heartbeat steadied into something sharper. You mean the public will hear a customer tried to slap a cleaner? Tunde's smile held, but his eyes hardened. We can adjust the story, he said. The manager swallowed. Baba Nuru shifted uncomfortably, like he didn't like where this was going, but didn't have the courage to leave. Adesuwa crossed her arms. So why did you bring me here? Tunde walked closer, lowering his voice like they were sharing secrets. Because my friend is ready to forgive and forget, he said, if you cooperate. Cooperate how? Tunde's eyes flicked to her uniform. Well, for starters, you will tell your staff that the incident was a misunderstanding. You will also show appreciation to Mr. Balogun. He is a big man. He can help this restaurant succeed. Adesuwa stared at him. Show appreciation, she repeated slowly. The manager jumped in quickly, eager to be part of the big talk. Yes, madam, he said, leaning forward. You know Lagos. People like Mr. Balogun can protect a business. Even your suppliers will respect you more if you're connected to him. Adesuwa's throat tightened. So that was it. They had found out who she was. And instead of protecting her secret, instead of respecting the fact that the cleaner they threatened was the owner, they saw only opportunity. Protection. Connection. Money. That familiar feeling came back again, the same one she used to feel at fancy parties. That sick sweetness of people trying to hug your pocket instead of your heart. Adesuwa looked at the manager, her own employee, and felt disappointment like a heavy stone. But she didn't show it. She asked softly, and if I don't cooperate? Tunde's smile vanished completely. He picked up his phone and waved it slightly. I have videos, he said, from your CCTV, from the dining area. The camera zoomed in on your face, your voice, your posture. Adesuwa's fingers tingled. Her internal security had already warned her. Your disguise is failing, Tunde continued. We can leak it and say you were pretending as a cleaner to set up customers, to disgrace people, to create drama for online publicity. People will say you are wicked. Your restaurant will turn into a joke. The manager nodded quickly, like this was smart. Adesuwa felt her stomach twist again, but she stayed steady. She took a slow breath, and then she did something they didn't expect. She smiled. Not a big smile, just a small one. It confused them. Is that all? She asked. Tunde blinked. Excuse me? Adesuwa stepped closer to the table and gently pulled the photo toward herself. She looked at it one more time. Then she folded it in half. Then in half again. Then again. The manager's mouth fell open. Madam. Adesuwa dropped the folded photo inside her bucket. Splash. The photo got wet instantly. Tunde's face tightened. You're very bold. Adesuwa tilted her head. I have been bold since I was 17, she said quietly. That's why I'm standing here as a trillionaire, and you're standing here as a messenger. The room went silent. Baba Nuru's eyes widened like, so it's true. Tunde stared at her, measuring her. The manager started sweating. Madam, he stammered, we didn't mean any harm. We were just what? Adesuwa cut in. Her voice was still calm, but it carried weight now. Just trying to see how you can benefit. The manager opened his mouth and closed it again like a fish. Adesuwa turned to Baba Nuru. You, she said. How did this man enter my office area? Baba Nuru cleared his throat. Madam, they said they came to complain. They said it was urgent. Adesuwa nodded once. Then she faced Tunde again. Let me tell you the truth, she said. I am the owner. Yes, and I came here disguised as a cleaner for a reason. Tunde's eyes narrowed. What reason? Adesuwa's voice softened for a second, almost like she was talking to herself. To find a good spouse. The manager gasped. Baba Nuru blinked. Tunde laughed once, sharp and unbelieving. A spouse, Tunde repeated. Madam, you are joking. Adesuwa shook her head. I'm not joking. I built Echo Ember with my money, but I wanted to build my life with the right person, she said. So I hid my identity. I wanted to see who was kind when no cameras were watching, who was patient when nobody could reward them. She paused. And today, you people have shown me what you are. The manager swallowed hard. Madam, please. Adesuwa raised a hand to stop him, but before she could continue, the door creaked open. A familiar voice CME from behind. Madam, sorry, I didn't know this was private. Adesuwa turned. It was the simple man, the one who defended her in the dining area. He stood at the doorway, holding a small tray with a glass of water. His face showed honest worry. I saw you walk here, he said. You looked like you were in trouble. So I asked one of the waiters where you went. They said office. He stepped inside a little, then froze when he saw the tense room. The manager's eyes widened. Tunde's face changed instantly like a new plan just entered his mind. Adesuwa felt a quick rush of heat, because now the man, the only person who had treated her with respect, was standing in the middle of danger, and he didn't even know it. The manager forced a laugh. Mr. Who are you again? The man answered politely. Chidi. Nwachukwu. Adesuwa caught that name in her head. Chidi. It sounded ordinary, real. Chidi looked at Adesuwa's face, then at her uniform, then at the men. He didn't understand fully, but he understood enough. He quietly asked her, Are you okay? Adesuwa wanted to say, Yes, I'm fine. But the truth was, she wasn't fine, because the game had changed. Her secret was no longer safe. And worse, Chidi had just walked into a room where rich men were making threats. Tunde stepped forward smoothly, as if he was now the welcoming host. Chidi, he said, smiling. You're the guy who embarrassed my friend outside, right? Chidi's shoulders stiffened. I didn't embarrass him. He was trying to hit her. Tunde nodded slowly, like he respected bravery. Then he turned to Adesuwa. Madam, he said, maybe you should tell your friend here who you really are. The manager's lips curled with excitement, like he was about to enjoy a movie. Adesuwa's heart thumped, because she realized what Tunde was trying to do. He wanted to expose her in front of Chidi, to ruin the one thing she had been hoping for. If Chidi learned she was a trillionaire, he might change. Even if he didn't want to. Money changes the air around people. It makes them inhale differently. Adesuwa took a slow breath. Chidi looked between them, confused. Tell me what? Chidi asked. Adesuwa opened her mouth, and at that exact moment, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a short message from her security head. Madam, 2 men with weapons just entered the restaurant front. They are asking for the owner. Adesuwa's blood turned cold, because she knew Lei Balagun wasn't finished. He had sent Tunde to threaten her quietly, and now he had sent men to the front to do what? To scare her? To kidnap her? To force her into an apology? Adesuwa's mind raced. Chidi stood right there. If anything happened, he could get hurt. She glanced at the manager. His eyes were shining, too excited, like he knew something, or worse, like he helped. Adesuwa's voice came out low and dangerous. Gboyega, she said to the manager. Did you call anyone? The manager's smile froze. Tunde's eyes flicked toward the door. Baba Nuru's face went pale. Chidi, still confused, took a small step closer to Adesuwa, as if to protect her again. What's going on? He asked, voice tight. Adesuwa swallowed hard. Then she whispered, almost to herself, This story is teaching me something. She lifted her head and looked straight at Chidi, and for the first time since she put on that uniform, her voice shook a little. Chidi, if you stay here, you might be in danger. Chidi's jaw tightened. I'm not leaving you. And at that exact second, a loud crash echoed from the front of the restaurant. Customers screamed, glasses shattered, and someone shouted, Where is the owner? Adesuwa's stomach dropped, because the men had arrived, and the biggest question now wasn't even about her disguise. It was about survival. The scream came first. High, sharp, real, then the sound of running feet. Not polite restaurant steps. Not soft music, night movement. This was panic. The office door shook as someone banged against it from the outside. Open this door, a rough voice shouted. Adesuwa didn't move. She stood still for one long second, her mind calm in a strange way, like the quiet that comes right before a storm breaks. Chidi stepped fully in front of her now, not loudly, not bravely on purpose, just naturally, like a person who had already decided something inside himself. Stay behind me, he said, low. Adesuwa looked at his back, broad enough, steady, no shaking. He didn't know she was a trillionaire. He didn't know men with weapons were asking for her. He didn't know this moment could change his whole life. Yet he stood there. That small act hit her harder than fear. Tunde raised his hand slightly, pretending calm. Everybody relax. There's no need for violence. Adesuwa almost laughed. Violence always arrived wearing calm words first. The office door flew open. 2 men entered. Both big. Both angry. One wore a leather jacket even though the weather was hot. The other had a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. Their eyes scanned the room fast, sharp like hunters. Behind them, Baba Nuru stood frozen, hands raised, sweat pouring down his face. The owner, the man with the scar, said, Where is she? Silence fell heavy. The manager, Gboyega, cleared his throat. Before Adesuwa could stop him, he spoke. She's here. And he pointed, straight at her. Time slowed. Adesuwa felt something inside her chest crack. Not fear. Betrayal. The men's eyes locked on her instantly. Cleaner uniform. Scarf. No jewelry. They hesitated. This one? Leather Jacket asked, confused. Tunde stepped forward smoothly. Yes. That's her. Madam Adesuwa Adebayo. The men laughed. Hard. You're joking, Scar said. This one? Chidi snapped. She's not your problem. Leave her alone. The men turned to him slowly, like lions noticing a barking dog. And who are you? Leather Jacket asked. Nobody, Chidi said. But she's not touching you. Adesuwa's heart twisted. The same words. Nobody. But she's somebody. Scar stepped closer to Chidi, towering over him. Ogre, this doesn't concern you. Move. Chidi didn't. The man shoved him, not hard enough to knock him down, hard enough to warn. Adesuwa reacted before thinking. "Stop," she shouted. Her voice cut the room clean. The men froze, surprised. She stepped forward from behind Chidi. "Leave him out of this," she said. "If you want to talk, talk to me." Chidi turned sharply. "No, don't." She touched his arm lightly. A small touch, but steady. "I can handle this," she said. She surprised herself. She meant it. Scar studied her face more closely now. Her posture, her eyes. Something shifted. "This is her," he said quietly. "I can see it now." Leather Jacket smirked. "Madam, Mr. Balagun sends his regards." Adesuwa's jaw tightened. "So he sends dogs now?" she asked calmly. The room inhaled sharply. Tunda stiffened. "Madam, watch your words." Adesuwa didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the men. "Tell your boss," she said, "that I will not apologize for existing, and I will not bow because he lost his temper." Leather Jacket's smile disappeared. "You think this is about apology?" he asked softly. "No, madam. This is about power." He stepped closer. Too close. Big men don't like being embarrassed by cleaners. Adesuwa held his gaze. "Then big men should learn how to behave," she replied. The slap came fast, not aimed at her face. A warning slap. It caught her shoulder, spinning her slightly. The sound echoed. Chidi lunged forward. "Hey!" Scar grabbed Chidi by the collar and slammed him against the wall. The crack of Chidi's back hitting the wood made Adesuwa's stomach drop. "Chidi!" she cried. Everything exploded at once. Baba Nuru shouted. The manager yelled. Customers outside screamed louder. Adesuwa's vision narrowed. This was no longer a test. This was danger. She reached into her pocket and pressed a small button on her phone. Once, twice. Her security team would already be moving, but Lagos traffic didn't care about emergencies. Leather Jacket turned to Chidi, fist raised. "Next one will break something." Adesuwa stepped between them without thinking. "Touch him again," she said, voice shaking now. "And you will answer to me." Scar laughed. "You?" She straightened her shoulders. "Yes, me." Something in her face made him pause. She wasn't begging. She wasn't crying. She looked certain. Tunde leaned close to her ear. "Madam, this is getting ugly. Just say sorry. Shake hands. Let's end it." Adesuwa turned slowly. Her eyes were wet but angry. "You sold me out," she said quietly. "For what? To impress a bully?" The manager's mouth opened. No words came out. Chidi coughed, trying to catch his breath. He looked at her, confused and worried. "Please," he said hoarsely, "just let them go. I don't want you hurt." That sentence broke something open inside Adesuwa. Even now, even after being hit, even with his back hurting, he was worried about her. Not money, not reward, not connection. Her. She turned fully to him, and for the first time, she dropped the act. Her voice changed, not louder, just clearer. "Chidi," she said, "I didn't come here as a cleaner by mistake." He frowned. "What do you mean?" The men watched closely now. Adesuwa took a slow breath. "I own this place." The words landed quietly, like a stone dropped into deep water. Chidi blinked. Once, twice. Then he laughed softly, thinking it was stress. But when he looked into her eyes, the laughter died. "No," he whispered. "Yes," she said. "I pretended to be a cleaner because I was tired of lies. Tired of men who love my money more than my name." His face changed. Shock. Confusion. Hurt. You're rich?" he asked. "I'm wealthy," she corrected. "But that's not who I am." Silence wrapped the room. Leather Jacket burst out laughing. "See? I told you." Scar smirked. "So the cleaner is a queen." Chidi took a small step back. Not because of fear, because of distance. Adesuwa saw it. That invisible line, money draws. It hurt more than the slap. "I didn't tell you because I wanted to know who you were when you thought I was nothing," she said softly. "And now I know." Chidi swallowed. "I don't care about your money," he said quickly. "I just didn't know." "I know," she interrupted gently. "But knowing changes things." Footsteps thundered from the hallway. Heavy. Fast. Then voices firm. Trained. Security. Nobody move. Adesuwa's team arrived. 4 men in plain clothes, but strong posture filled the doorway. Leather jacket cursed. Scar reached for his waistband and froze as a gun appeared, aimed calmly at his chest. Hands up, the lead guard said. Within seconds, the room flipped. The hunters became the hunted. Tunde backed into a chair, pale. The manager sank into his seat, shaking. Chidi stood still, stunned. Adesuwa felt the adrenaline drain from her body all at once. Her knees almost buckled. She leaned against the desk. The lead guard turned to her. "Madam, are you hurt?" She shook her head slowly. No. Her eyes went to Chidi. "But he is." The guards secured the men quickly. As they were dragged out, Scar looked back at Adesuwa and laughed bitterly. "You think this ends here?" He sneered. "Lagos doesn't forgive." The door slammed shut. Silence followed. Heavy, loud. Adesuwa turned to Chidi. He looked at her like she was a stranger. Not angry. Just unsure. "I need air," he said quietly. Then he walked out. Just like that. Adesuwa watched him go. Her chest felt tight again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was loss, because the very thing she feared had happened. The truth had stepped between them, and she didn't know if it could be crossed again. She whispered to herself, barely audible, "This story is teaching me something." She straightened slowly. Outside, police sirens approached. Inside, her restaurant stood shaken, and somewhere in the night, Lay Balogun was already planning his next move. The message stayed on Adesuwa's screen longer than it should have. "You protected the wrong man. Now choose your heart or his safety." Her fingers went cold. Around her, echo ember buzzed with controlled chaos. Police officers spoke into radios. Her security team blocked exits. Customers were escorted out gently, some still whispering, some already typing stories into their phones, but Adesuwa heard none of it. Only the echo of that sentence. She locked her phone and slipped it into her pocket like it could bite. "Madam," her head of security, Mr. Kunle, said softly, "we need to move you. Now." She nodded once. As they walked through the back corridor, her eyes searched instinctively. For Chidi, he wasn't there. The hallway smelled like spilled wine and fear. Broken glass glittered under the lights. Somewhere behind them, a woman cried into her phone. They reached a private lounge, quiet, soundproof, built for VIP guests who wanted silence. The door closed. The world went mute. Adesuwa sank into a chair. Her legs finally shook. Kunle crouched in front of her. "Madam, are you hurt?" "No," she said, then corrected herself. "Yes, just not where you can see." Kunle nodded. He had worked for her for 10 years. He knew that look. "Who sent the message?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "But I know who it's about." Kunle's jaw tightened. "The man, Chidi." "Yes." Kunle stood slowly. "Madam, with respect, this is no longer about tests or love. Mr. Balogun doesn't lose. He escalates." Adesuwa closed her eyes. Images flashed in her mind. Chidi standing in front of her. Chidi coughing against the wall. Chidi saying, "I don't want you hurt." Her phone vibrated again. She opened it this time. Unknown. He left the restaurant alone. "We are watching." Her breath caught. "Kunle," she said quietly. "Find Chidi. Now." Kunle hesitated. "Madam, please," she said. That single word carried more weight than any order she had ever given. Kunle nodded sharply and spoke into his earpiece. Adesuwa stood up, pacing slowly. This was the part she had never planned for. She had planned rude men, fake kindness, disappointment. She had not planned for danger following a good man just because he chose decency. That was the cruelest twist. The door opened slightly. A young female staff member peeked in, eyes red, hands shaking. "Madam," she whispered. "There's something you should see." She held out a tablet. On the screen was a live CCTV feed from outside the restaurant. Chidi walked along the sidewalk alone, shoulders slumped, hands in his pockets. He looked smaller now, not weak, just tired. 2 black SUVs rolled slowly behind him, not close, just close enough. Adesuwa's heart slammed against her ribs. "Zoom," she said. The image sharpened. She saw it, the subtle way the cars matched his pace. the way the headlights dimmed when he slowed. Kunle returned at that moment. He took one look and cursed under his breath. "They're tailing him," he said. "Professional." Adesuwa didn't sit. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She made a decision. "Get my car," she said. Kunle stared. "Madam?" "No. This is exactly what they want." "They want leverage," she replied. "I won't give them one." She turned to him fully. "I will not let a good man suffer because he stood up for me." Kunle's voice dropped. "Madam, loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing them." Adesuwa swallowed. "That's the problem," she said softly. "I don't even know if he loves me." The drive through Victoria Island felt longer than usual. Streetlights blurred past. The city looked normal. Too normal. Adesuwa watched the road with sharp focus. She hadn't felt this exposed since she was 19 when her first public company deal leaked and strangers suddenly smiled too wide. Kunle's phone buzzed. "They've stopped," he said, "near Ozumba Mbadiwe." Adesuwa's chest tightened. "Where is Chidi?" Kunle checked again. He stopped too. "He's on the phone." Her heart twisted. Was he calling someone for help or calling to disappear from her life? They arrived just as Chidi stepped off the curb. One of the SUVs rolled forward. A window slid down. A man leaned out. Adesuwa didn't wait. She opened her door and stepped out. "Chidi." Her voice cut through the night. He turned. Shock flashed across his face. "Adesuwa." The SUV door opened. The same man from earlier, leather jacket, stepped out, smiling. Well, he said. "The Queen herself." Adesuwa moved to stand beside Chidi. Kunle and the guards fanned out quietly. Leather jacket laughed softly. "Relax. We're just having a conversation." Chidi looked between them, confused and tense. "What's going on?" he asked. Adesuwa answered honestly. "They're threatening you because of me." Leather jacket shrugged. "Threatening is a strong word." He looked at Chidi. "You embarrassed a powerful man today." Chidi's jaw set. He tried to hit her. Leather jacket smiled wider. "Yes. And now here we are." Adesuwa stepped forward. "Let him go. This is between you and me." Leather jacket tilted his head. "It always was." He pulled out his phone and showed her the screen. A photo appeared. Chidi, earlier that evening, walking alone. Another swipe. Chidi talking to her. Another. Chidi being shoved. "We can make his life difficult," Leather jacket said calmly. "Or peaceful. Your choice." Adesuwa felt anger rise hot and sharp. "You want money," she said. Leather jacket nodded. "Protection fee. Call it that." Chidi turned to her sharply. "No. Don't." He grabbed her arm lightly. "I don't want your money. I don't want your protection. I just want to leave." Adesuwa looked at him. Really looked. His eyes weren't greedy. They were scared. Not of the men. Of being part of something ugly. "This isn't about money," she said quietly. "It's about what kind of person you are." Leather jacket laughed. "This is Lagos, madam. Morals are expensive." Adesuwa exhaled slowly. Then she said something nobody expected. "I will pay." Chidi stared at her. "No." She turned to him. "Listen to me." Her voice softened. "I chose this test because I wanted truth. And today, I found it in you." She faced Leather jacket again. "But this ends tonight," she said. "You take your money. You leave him alone. Forever." Leather jacket considered. Kunle tensed. This was dangerous ground. "Double," Leather jacket said finally. "And a public apology to Mr. Balagun." Adesuwa's lips tightened. A public apology would destroy everything she stood for. It would tell the world she bowed to cruelty. Chidi shook his head fiercely. "Please, don't do this." Adesuwa felt something tear inside her. Heart versus principle. Safety versus truth. She looked at Chidi. Then she looked at Leather jacket. She realized something painful. If she paid, she saved Chidi tonight. But she taught these men they could always use people against her. And next time, it might be worse. She straightened. "I won't apologize," she said. "And I won't pay." Leather jacket's smile vanished. "So you've chosen," he said coldly. Chidi stepped closer to her. "I don't regret today," he said quietly. "Even if this is the end." Her throat burned. Before she could answer, Sirens wailed in the distance. Closer than before. Leather Jacket cursed. You called the police? Kunle didn't answer. The SUV's doors slammed. The men moved fast. Too fast. Leather Jacket leaned close to Adesuwa, voice low and venomous. This isn't over, he whispered. And next time, we won't warn. They disappeared into traffic just as police cars arrived. Blue and red lights washed over the street. Chidi sagged slightly, adrenaline leaving his body. Adesuwa caught his arm instinctively. He didn't pull away. For a second, they just stood there, two people surrounded by noise, feeling very small. He looked at her. Why didn't you pay? He asked quietly. She answered honestly. Because I don't want to live in a world where good people are currency. Silence settled between them. Then he said something that surprised her. I don't know how to be with someone like you, he admitted. But I know how to respect you. Her eyes filled. That's more than enough for tonight, she whispered. As the police spoke to Kunle and the guards, Adesuwa's phone buzzed again. She looked down. A new message. Unknown. You chose wrong. Tomorrow, the restaurant pays. Adesuwa closed her eyes. Because she knew. This fight had just moved to a bigger stage. And love was no longer the only thing at risk. Morning came too quietly. Lagos mornings were usually loud horns, shouting conductors, generators coughing awake. But that day, Echo Ember sat under a strange, careful silence. Like a house holding its breath, Adesuwa stood across the street, watching her restaurant. The glass walls reflected the pale sky. The sign still shone softly. On the outside, everything looked fine. Inside, she wasn't sure. Kunle stood beside her, arms crossed. His face was hard now. Professional. Alert. We swept the building at 4 a.m., he said. No explosives. No forced entry. Adesuwa nodded. That message from the night before stayed in her chest like a stone. Tomorrow, the restaurant pays. What about staff? She asked. Kunle hesitated. Just a second too long. Everyone resumed, he said carefully. Including Gboyega. Adesuwa closed her eyes briefly. Gboyega, the manager who pointed at her, the man who smiled when danger entered the room. Did he say anything? She asked. No, Kunle replied. But madam, he's nervous. That didn't comfort her. They crossed the road together and entered through the main doors. The smell hit her immediately. Gas. Not strong. Controlled. Just enough to cause trouble. Adesuwa stopped walking. Kunle raised his hand, signaling the guards. Evacuate, she said calmly. Quietly, Kunle's eyes widened. Madam, now. They moved fast. Staff were guided out through the back exits. Customers were politely turned away. No panic. No shouting. But Adesuwa's heart pounded. This wasn't a warning. This was a message. By the time the gas company arrived and sealed the line, it was clear. Someone had tampered with the system overnight. Not to blow the place up, just enough to shut it down, just enough to scare her. Kunle approached her slowly. This was done by someone who knows the building, he said. Someone with access. Adesuwa already knew. Her phone buzzed. Unknown. That was Mercy. She didn't reply. She turned and walked into the empty dining area, heels clicking softly on the floor. Tables were perfectly set. Cutlery shone. Everything she built with care paused. Adesuwa felt a wave of anger rise, not loud, not explosive. Cold. Focused. She called Kunle over. I want a full report on Gboyega, she said. Bank records, calls, everything. Kunle nodded. Already started. She looked around the room again. I didn't build this place to bow, she said, and I won't start now. Chidi didn't answer her calls. Not the first. Not the second. On the third, the call went straight to voicemail. Adesuwa stared at her phone, unsure what hurt more, the danger around her or the quiet distance growing between them. She decided to go to him, not as a billionaire, not as an owner, as herself. She drove alone to Trillionaire, to the small compound he had mentioned casually the night before. The kind of place people didn't notice unless they lived there. She parked outside and stepped out. Children played football with a flat ball. A woman shouted from a window. Life went on. She found his door, hesitated, then knocked. No answer. She knocked again, Still nothing. As she turned to leave, an older woman stepped out from the next door. "You're looking for Chidi?" the woman asked. "Yes," Adesuwa replied. "Is he around?" The woman studied her face. "Who are you?" "A friend," the woman sighed. "He left early this morning, said he needed space." Adesuwa nodded slowly. "Is he okay?" she asked. The woman's eyes softened. "He's good people, just doesn't like trouble." That sentence stayed with Adesuwa as she walked back to her car. Good people don't like trouble, yet trouble had followed him anyway. Because of her, by afternoon, the news broke. Not the truth. A twisted version. Blogs began to post. Billionaire sets trap for customers. Rich woman pretends to be cleaner to humiliate Lagos big man. Echo Ember scandal rocks Victoria Island. Photos appeared. Screenshots. Half stories. The narrative was being written for her. Kunle paced her office. "Madam, we can shut this down." Lawyers. Statements. Adesuwa shook her head. "No," she said. "Not yet." She stared at the screen. This wasn't about reputation. This was about control. If she reacted emotionally, they would win. Her phone rang. This time, a known number. Her aunt. "Adesuwa," the woman said sharply. "What is this nonsense I'm seeing online?" Adesuwa closed her eyes. "It's not nonsense. You're disgracing yourself," her aunt continued. "Pretending to be a cleaner. For what? Love. For truth." Adesuwa replied quietly. Her aunt scoffed. "Truth doesn't feed families. Power does." The call ended coldly. Adesuwa leaned back in her chair. The lesson was becoming clearer. This story wasn't just about finding a good spouse. It was about how much the world hated women who refused to be owned. That evening, Kunle returned with a file. He placed it on the desk. "Gboyega met with Tunde last night," he said. "Received money this morning." Adesuwa wasn't surprised. "What else?" Kunle hesitated. "He also gave them access codes." Adesuwa's jaw tightened. "So he chose." Kunle nodded. "Madam, we should call the police." "Yes," she said, "but not yet." She stood up. "Tonight," she continued, "I want Eco Ember reopened." Kunle stared. "Madam, the gas will be fixed," she said. "And I want Gboyega working the floor." Kunle's eyes widened. "You're setting a trap." Adesuwa nodded once. "Yes." Night fell again. Lights returned to Echo Ember. Music played. Guests arrived curious, excited, hungry for drama. Gboyega stood stiffly at the entrance, forcing a smile. He didn't see Adesuwa watching from the balcony above. Her phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown. Bold. But foolish. She didn't respond. Instead, she typed a message of her own. Not to the unknown number. To Chidi. "I don't know how this ends, but I know this. You showed me the kind of man the world tries to break. And that matters to me more than safety." She pressed send. Down below, Gboyega's phone vibrated. He glanced at it, paled. Adesuwa smiled faintly. Because she knew, when lights come back on after darkness, every shadow becomes visible. And tonight, someone would finally step into the open. Gboyega's smile didn't just fade. It collapsed. From the balcony, Adesuwa watched it happen in real time, the exact second his eyes met hers. His shoulders stiffened, his lips parted slightly. He looked away too fast. Like a child caught with his hand in a broken jar. Good. Fear was honest. Adesuwa didn't move from where she stood. She leaned lightly against the glass railing. Calm on the outside, steady on the inside. Her navy dress flowed softly around her legs. No cleaner's uniform tonight. No hiding. This was the woman who owned the ground under their feet. Down below, music played. Glasses clinked. Laughter floated. To everyone else, Echo Ember had survived a rough opening and bounced back stronger. Only a few people knew the truth. Kunle stood beside her, speaking quietly into his earpiece. "All positions ready," he said. "Audio is live. Cameras are rolling." Adesuwa nodded. "Let him breathe first," she said. "Fear makes people talk." Gboyega tried to regain control. He straightened his tie and clapped his hands once, loudly, like a man reminding himself he still had authority. Welcome, sir, he said to a guest. Your table is ready. But his voice cracked. He wiped his forehead with a handkerchief that was already damp. Adesuwa remembered how confident he sounded that first day. How easily he threatened her when he thought she was nothing. She turned away from the railing and walked back into the private lounge. Call him, she said to Kunle. Kunle pressed a button. Giboyega's phone rang in his pocket. He froze. It rang again. He glanced around, panicked, then forced a smile and excused himself from the entrance. He stepped into a side corridor and answered, "Hello." Adesuwa's voice came through the small speaker on the table in front of her. Calm, controlled. "Good evening, Giboyega." Silence, then a shaky breath. "Madam," he said. "Good evening." "Relax," she said gently. "I'm not calling to shout." "Yes, madam," he replied quickly. Too quickly. "I just wanted to ask," she continued, "how the reopening is going." It's fine, madam. Everything is under control." Adesuwa smiled faintly. "That's good," she said, "because I'll be joining you shortly." His breath caught. You're already here?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "I've been here all evening." The line went quiet. She could imagine his face now tight, calculating, searching for escape routes that didn't exist. "Giboyega," she said softly. "How long have you worked for me?" 3 years, madam," he answered. "And in those 3 years," she asked, "did I ever cheat you?" "No, madam." "Did I ever delay your salary?" "No." "Did I ever insult you?" "No." Her voice hardened slightly. "So why did you sell me?" The silence this time was longer. When he spoke again, his voice was smaller. "I was scared." "Of what?" she asked. "Of power," he said. "Men like Balogun, they don't lose." Adesuwa leaned back in her chair. "Neither do I," she said. "The difference is how we win." She ended the call. Kunle watched her carefully. "Madam, are you sure you want to do this publicly?" She nodded. "They wanted to shame me publicly," she said. "They wanted to make kindness look foolish. Let the truth breathe where the lies lived." Below, Giboyega walked back toward the dining area like a man going to the gallows. His steps were heavy. Guests noticed. Whispers followed him. Adesuwa stepped out of the lounge and moved toward the main staircase. When she appeared at the top, the room didn't go silent immediately. It went curious, then quiet. Phones came out. People recognized her now, from blogs, from pictures, from rumors. She descended slowly. Each step felt deliberate, not dramatic, just sure. She reached the ground floor and turned to face the room. Giboyega stood near the center, hands clasped, eyes darting. "Good evening," Adesuwa said. Her voice carried without shouting. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight." Polite applause followed. Confused applause. She smiled. "I won't take much of your time," she continued. "But there is something important I need to address. Not as a businesswoman. As a human being." The word human landed heavier than any mention of money. "When I built this restaurant," she said, "I wanted it to be a place of respect, for customers, for staff, for everyone." She paused. "A few days ago, a man attempted to hit one of our cleaners." A murmur rippled through the room. She let it. "I was that cleaner." Gasps. Phones rose higher. Giboyega's face drained of color. "I did not pretend to embarrass anyone," she continued. "I pretended because I wanted to see how people behave when they think nobody important is watching." She turned slightly toward Giboyega. "And I saw." All eyes followed. "Giboyega," she said calmly, "please come forward." His legs barely moved. He stepped out slowly. "Yes, madam," he whispered. "Tell them," she said. He swallowed. "Tell them what you did," she repeated. The room was so quiet now that even the kitchen noise seemed far away. I gave information," he said. "To outsiders." "To who?" Adesuwa asked. "Mr. Balogun," he said. "Through his man, Tunde." A wave of whispers surged. "And why?" she asked. He looked up at her, eyes glassy. "Because I was afraid," he said. "And because they promised protection." Adesuwa nodded slowly. "Protection," she echoed. "At what cost?" He didn't answer. She turned back to the room. "This," she said, "is how corruption works. Not always with shouting, sometimes with fear, sometimes with smiles. She took a breath. And this is how good people get hurt. Her mind flicked to Chidi, standing in front of her, not knowing who she was, choosing decency anyway. Her chest tightened. She finished calmly. Gboyega no longer works here. Security stepped forward quietly. Gboyega didn't resist. As he was led away, he broke. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't think it would go this far." "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would go this far." Adesuwa watched him go. "I did," she said softly. Applause broke out. Not wild, not celebratory, respectful. But as Adesuwa scanned the room, she felt it again, that familiar gap. Applause wasn't love. Exposure wasn't safety. And justice didn't always bring peace. Her phone vibrated in her hand. A message. From Chidi. She froze. She opened it. "I saw the video. I see what you're doing. But I don't know where I fit in this world of yours." Her breath caught. Before she could reply, another message slid in. From the unknown number. "Nice performance. Now check your accounts." Her blood went cold. Kunle rushed to her side, whispering urgently, "Madam, we have a problem." She looked at him. "Multiple supplier accounts just froze," he said. "Banks are calling. Someone is pulling strings." Adesuwa closed her eyes briefly. So this was the next move. Not violence. Control. She straightened. "Let them pull," she said quietly. "I'm still standing." But deep down, she knew something heavy was coming. She looked at her phone again, at Chidi's message. And for the first time since this began, doubt crept in. Not about money, about love. Because even if she won this war, she might lose the one person who made it worth fighting. When the screen went black, Adesuwa didn't panic. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because fear had already spent itself. She looked up at Kunle. "How deep?" Kunle's voice was low. "Deep enough to hurt. Not deep enough to erase you." She nodded once. "Good." Outside, the applause had faded. Guests were leaving with stories to tell. Cameras were packing up. The noise of victory thin, temporary drifted away. This part was quieter and harder. Adesuwa walked back into the private lounge and sat down. She placed both palms flat on the table like she was grounding herself. "Call the banks," she said. "Not the executives, the risk teams. Tell them I want a meeting tonight." Kunle hesitated. "Madam, that will look like weakness." She met his eyes. "No, it will look like clarity." She picked up her phone. It restarted slowly. Notifications flooded in missed calls, alerts, headlines. She ignored them all and opened Chidi's message again. "I don't know where I fit in this world of yours." She typed carefully, then erased it, typed again, paused. Finally, she wrote, "You fit exactly where you stood, in front of what was wrong." She pressed send. Minutes passed. Too many. Kunle returned with updates, suppliers pressured, contracts questioned, quiet threats disguised as reviews. The usual tools of powerful men who hated losing. Adesuwa listened. Absorbed. Calculated. Then the door opened softly. "Madam," Kunle said, surprised. "He's here." Chidi stepped in. No suit. No bravado. Just the same simple man who had stood between a raised hand and a stranger. They looked at each other in silence. "I didn't come for money," Chidi said finally. "I came for truth." She stood. "That's all I have." He nodded. "That's the problem. And the reason." They sat across from each other. "I grew up watching good people get crushed," Chidi said. "I promised myself I wouldn't be owned by fear. Or dazzled by wealth." She listened, didn't interrupt. "I don't know how to be a trillionaire's husband," he continued. "I know how to be a decent man." Adesuwa's voice was soft. "I don't need a title, I need a spine. A beat." He exhaled. Then, "Hear me clearly. I won't be protected. I won't be used. And I won't be bought by you or by your enemies." She nodded. "Good. Because I won't shrink to keep you safe." Silence again, not awkward, honest. Outside, Kunle waited. Inside, Adesuwa made the final call. She stood and spoke into the room like it was a promise. "I won't apologize to bullies. I won't pay extortion, I won't hide, and I won't trade people for peace. Chidi watched her. Then what do you do? She smiled, small, tired, real. I tell the truth. Publicly, completely. That night, Adesuwa released everything. The footage, the threats, the tampered gas line, the supplier pressure, the names. She didn't shout, she didn't dramatize, she simply laid it out clean, documented, undeniable. By morning, the tide shifted. Banks restored access, suppliers backed down, investigations opened. Men who thrived in shadows suddenly wanted daylight. Lai Balogun's name trended for the wrong reasons. Eco Ember reopened quietly, not with fireworks, with calm. Weeks passed. The noise died. One evening, Adesuwa returned to the dining floor alone. No entourage, no balcony. She picked up a mop from the corner. Chidi appeared beside her, amused. Again? She smiled. Once was a test. This time is a reminder. He took the mop from her hands and leaned it back. You don't need to prove anything anymore. She met his eyes. Neither do you. They stood there, no cameras, no threats, no masks. Just two people who had seen each other under pressure, and chosen anyway. Commentary, lessons, character psychology. This story teaches that kindness under pressure reveals truth, not money, not power, not performance. Adesuwa learned that wealth amplifies everything: fear, courage, greed, and love. She tested the world and found both cruelty and courage, but she chose to protect the latter, even when it cost her comfort. Chidi's psychology is simple and rare: self-respect before security. He didn't chase money or run from danger. He stood where his values stood. That steadiness is why he mattered. Adesuwa's arc is about refusing to bargain with her soul. She learned that you can win a war and still lose yourself unless you draw a line that money cannot cross. And the quiet truth beneath it all: a good spouse isn't found by hiding wealth alone. They're found by watching who stays decent when decency is expensive. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.